Madam Chairman, Dharma brothers and sisters, Umani Pemeho. First of all, I don't think I deserve the things spoken about me in the biodata. Because since it was written as Reverend Tony Wong, I had many phone calls from friends. And up to now, I'm having problems. And secondly, I must point out that I'm not an expert on the teachings of the Mahayana or Vajrayana. Although I do hold discussions with people in smaller places and those who are interested in knowing some of Buddhism. Very simple, we just discussed the aspects of Buddhism. Well, we have just heard the profound views on spirituality by two eminent speakers from very high level. I'm afraid I can't do that. I shall present it to you from a very low level. Thank you for this opportunity, for giving me the chance to present my shallow views on today's topic. Does spirituality ensures good fortune, good health, and good morals? This must have been the foremost question that crossed the minds of beginners of the path of spirituality, and it deserves some answers to contemplate upon. Since the definition of spirituality has been given, I shall cut it out entirely. Now, the views set forth by the earlier speakers must have been good food for the thoughts, and it is hoped that what I shall be saying will add some spice to it. And because of our differing religions and our different levels of spiritual attainments, what has been said and is now being said will most certainly cause some conflicting views within our minds. I do not wish to enter into any debate, and therefore I would like to stress that whatever views I shall be presenting are my own, and not necessarily those of my Buddhist brothers. Like every other religion, Buddhism too assures salvation or liberation from all forms of worldly sufferings if its teachings are practiced faithfully. But the fruit of our labor need not necessarily be enjoyed within this lifetime. But here we are really talking about enjoying the good results of our practice within this lifetime. So the answer to this question as to spirituality ensures its good results within this very lifetime can be given in three ways: a big no, a mild maybe, and an emphatic yes. But first of all, it must be agreed that there is no need to touch on the question of whether good morals will arise from spirituality. Because without morality, our practice cannot take root or be considered as a spiritual practice. Then we should also take a closer look and see what is meant by good fortune, because it is likely that we are all not sharing the same views due to our differing backgrounds and religious knowledge. It could mean abundance in material possession or fame to some, richness in knowledge and wisdom to others, and so on. And to a Buddhist, it normally means having the good fortune to come across the Buddha Dharma and be caused to practice it. As for good health, although there is no confusion in this term, still we have to consider the state of health and the age of the aspirant at the time of his entering into spiritual life. It would be unreasonable to expect that his desires for good health can be fulfilled when he is suffering from a very advanced state of a very complicated disease, or when he is very advanced in years and his bodily health is quite beyond repair. Short of miracles, which do happen at times, generally it is not to be expected that his spiritual practice will quickly help him to regain his good health or a vibrant body, though it is possible for his prayers to be answered in other ways, like lessening of body pains or the wisdom to accept the realities of the situation and so on. Generally, it can be agreed that spirituality does bring about the desired good results, because a spiritual person with good morals is less likely to live his life carelessly, which generates the risks that are detrimental to life. Life to him would be too precious to be wasted in reckless pursuance of sensual gratifications, as it would provide him the opportunity to be closer to the divine by purifying himself through undoing all the wrongs that he has committed in this and previous lifetimes. This he does by living in a righteous manner, which earns him the merits to ensure his ascendance up the spiritual ladder, or the ladder of evolution, thus gradually freeing himself from the grips of worldly passions until the perfected state, Buddhahood, is reached. So the more good he practices, the more seeds of happiness he will be planting, which ensure future happiness and more favorable conditions for his continued spiritual development. However, being on the spiritual path, no matter how long and sincere we have been indulging in its disciplines, does not ensure that the journey will always be smooth and pleasant. Hindrances and obstacles will always be there in the forms of poverty, illnesses, and other difficulties. They are there to be overcome or looked upon as aids to our practice, or also as karmic debts to be settled. After all, the purpose of our entry into spirituality is to seek happiness after realizing the dissatisfactoriness of life. And if we have not experienced the pains of suffering and fear them, would we resort to ask the divine for help? If we have not purged ourselves from the fruits of our past misdeeds, which manifest in the forms of sufferings, how can the seeds of happiness which we have sown take root? Purging ourselves from the fruits of our past misdeeds really means that we must readily and happily accept the consequences of all our unwholesome actions, even though it involves some forms of sufferings. In this process of purification, we are only reaping what we have unskillfully sown. Here we are talking about karma and its effects, the Buddhist or Hindu law of moral causation and individual responsibility. It explains the problems of suffering, mystery of fate and predestination of some religions, and above all, the inequalities of life, which have baffled minds of many. It also helps explain why some people's prayers are answered while ours are not, despite our deep involvements in spiritual matters. Furthermore, it helps to put us solidly onto the path of practice and to develop the wisdom and endurance to bear the so-called disappointments of life, which comes to us in the forms of illness, poverty, old age, death, impermanence, disillusionment, and other bodily problems which modern science and technology are unable to uproot. It is based on my superficial knowledge on this profound doctrine of the Buddha that I'm going to give you my threefold answers to this topic. As a Buddhist, I'm disinclined to say yes to the possibility of being ensured the rewards of our spiritual practice if they were expected to bring about the desired results within this lifetime. To a Buddhist, life does not consist of a single lifetime, and it will not end until one has attained perfection or enlightenment. Through diligent practice over innumerable lifetimes. And for this reason, two of the foremost virtues that a Buddhist have to practice are patience and endurance, because enlightenment cannot be accomplished within a short period of a single lifetime, but over many, many lifetimes. That is why we believe that our past actions condition the present birth, and our present actions in combination with past actions condition the future. In other words, we are what we were, and we will be what we are. This means that what we are now practicing will most likely be bearing results in the future, but not necessarily in the immediate future in this lifetime. Furthermore, the proofs to this no answer can be seen by the vast number of spiritually minded people who, though they are spending their entire life in religious pursuits and are living for the sake of benefiting others, yet many are either economically burdened or poor in health, or both. I have over the years come across a quite large number of such kind spiritual souls who are spending their lives in selfless service to others. Although most of them are in good health, they are often beset with financial woes. And one of them is our dear Mother Mangalam, which I hope that after tonight's speech, we might dig into our purse and write some checks to the Pure Life Society. Now, of the few who are able to meet up with charitable patrons and sponsors to answer the prayers, and in this context again, Mother Mangalam could be mentioned as one amongst them, this can be attributed to the past good karma of having created good and strong karmic roots with these people. However, to the minds of this spiritually advanced being, these petty difficulties on wealth are not viewed with despair, but rather as positive signs that the past karmas are being exhausted. Unlike worldly beings such as ourselves, they have not entered the spiritual paths for the sake of temporary comforts, pleasure, wealth, or power, which could be great hindrances if they become too attached to them, instead of renouncing them as the spiritual disciple should do. And if one could, through spiritual involvements, ensure all the worldly pleasures and comforts, then the world should not be what it is today, because it can be taken for granted that the less fortunate ones are often more fervent with the prayers and worship. I have also met many people whose prayers for some simple joys of life have remained unanswered. And I'm sure some of you, and most of you, know of such people too. But does this mean that they are wasting their time and energy in their efforts? No. They are now building causes of happiness, which can only manifest when the present karmic effects have become exhausted. In other words, they are now sowing the seeds, and time must be allowed for them to take root, grow, and bear the fruits to be harvested in the future. This explains why we cannot take it for granted that spirituality ensures good fortune and the host of other goodies. Now let's take a look at the maybe answer. When a person in past lives has been kindly, helpful, and generous to others, he enjoys the good karma of being reborn, a human being, but not as an ordinary fellow. Most likely as one of those so-called lucky ones, with all the leisures of life around him, and also enjoying a beautiful body and healthy mind and body. Now, whether he is spiritual in that particular lifetime or not has nothing to do with his good fortune, for he is only enjoying the effects of his past good causes, and this has certainly caused some confusions to the mind of others. They are likely to become disappointed with their own spiritual practice when they see that all this is happening to the neighbors who are neither holy, honest, or hardworking. Or when such fortunate ones are spiritual in nature, they may conclude that such blessings are rewards due to their being spiritual or religious. It is for this reason that the maybe answer is also applicable to this topic of today. And finally, for the yes answer. For those who have the good understanding of the teachings on karma and its effects, which explain very clearly the complexity of the multi-life theory, the yes answer need no further explanation. But allow me to give you a short quotation by the Buddha on karma for the benefit of those who have not heard of it. According to the seed that is sown, so is the fruit ye shall reap therefrom. Doers of good will gather good. Doers of evil, evil reaps. Sown is the seed, and thou shalt taste the fruit thereof. And due to time constraints, I shall not be able to give a more elaborate explanation to the quotation, but a short contemplation on it will reveal that all our spiritual efforts will not go to waste, but will surely bear fruit in the forms of good fortune, good health, and a host of other desires that are wished for, provided time is allowed for them to manifest. However, we must seriously ask ourselves this question: are these so-called blessings of life that we are yearning for the true goal of our spiritual practice? Thank you very much.
The question was about God. You see, besides the Buddhists, others all talk profusely about God. And the Buddhists say they don't believe in God. So there is a fundamental contradiction here. And of course, Brother Tony Wong, he took the stand of a Buddhist. So the question is that among the three speakers, some believe in God, some don't believe in God. So can we define what is God or what is not God and things like that? So I thought Brother Jokamang is the best person. So let us put him on the air first and give him a big hand.
Because I say I believe in God, Buddhists will say, this fellow is a non-Buddhist. If I don't believe in God, they say, this fellow is a non-Christian, he's turned against Christian or what. So this is a very tricky question. I can only give an opinion. I don't claim to be an expert on the subject. But as you know, I'm an interfaith believer, so one of the things I like to do is to reconcile opposite or contradictory beliefs. So I believe that this contradiction between the God and the no-God believers can be reconciled by understanding the meaning of the word God. To start with, there is no scripture in the world which contains the word God. This is an English word, and the English have not yet produced a scripture. A lot of words have been translated into the English word God, and this explains some of the confusion. Allah is translated as God. Elohim is also God. Jehovah is God. Brahman is God. Brahma also is God. Devas also God. Tao also becomes God. So all these words all have been given one common appellation, God, and this is where a lot of the confusion has arisen. Now, part of the reason why a lot of people say that the Hindus believe in many gods is that the word Devas has been translated into God, which I don't think is correct. So, to get back to scripture and to the meaning of the words used in the original language is the first step we must take. If we take the three main cultures of the world, three main culture areas, take the Middle East, when the Bible uses the word Elohim, and that is translated to God. So Elohim, what exactly does it mean? They're talking about an absolute. But this absolute is given human characteristics. This is described in terms of a personality with hands and fingers and whatnot. This is a way of conveying absolute truth in a human personal form so that the Jews can understand it. When the Muslims use the word Allah, and they say that they don't use the word that often, the reason for it is that Allah is above everything. It is above anything you can describe. In the Islamic context, if I'm not mistaken, now even though you say that there are 99 names of Allah, in the Sufi tradition there's a 100th name, which is silence. So that is, so even from the Middle Eastern school of thought, you can see that there is the absolute who is above all definitions, above all descriptions, but brought down to the level of humanity, where we anthropomorphize it, and that becomes God, so that we can understand this supreme being. We can relate it to our own personal experiences. In the same way, in the Indian culture, we find that Brahman is the eternal, impersonal principle. It has no personality, but it is also personalized for the sake of the people. Then it becomes Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, and so on. In the Chinese tradition, Tao, although it has been translated as God, here again is a problem, because Tao is not God. Tao is again the Supreme Absolute, which is totally beyond the concept of a personality. So we have to bear in mind that we are talking about two things here. One, the non-personal. The Supreme Absolute is a non-personal thing. It is beyond personality. But then we have to understand it in terms of a personality, because we are people with personalities. We can only understand things according to our own experiences. So we've got to personalize it. Then God becomes a personality. So if we understand it this way, then there is no contradiction. Because what the Buddhists did was, they just got rid of all these personality things. And so far as God is concerned, went up all the way to the top, to Nirvana. And Nirvana being the absolute presence, the supreme absolute goal, is the same as Brahman and the Tao. I don't think there is a difference there. But the Buddhists have not got rid of the idea of personality altogether, because the Buddha is the supreme personality. He takes the place of God. And I think in a sense it is very true, because the profusion of Buddha statues 5 centuries after the Buddha's death shows the need for Buddhists also to personalize the Nirvana. So we see in terms of our own need to identify with a supreme personality. And at the same time, our own spiritual need to transcend the supreme personality. Then we can reconcile these things. Thank you.
Your encounter with Buddhism is more with the Theravada views, and therefore the concept of God is totally absent. Now, from the Mahayana school, actually the Buddha has got 3 bodies. First is called the truth body, or Dhammakaya, which Joachim has said is absolute. And then the next level is called the bliss body, or Sambhogakaya, followed by the human body, or Nimanakaya. So it is a very complex doctrine, the Trikaya doctrine on the Buddha's body, which is particular to the Mahayanis. Now, if we talk of God, actually can refer to him as Dhammakaya. It is the absolute. From him manifests this body, and then, now, we cannot perceive the truth body, but we can have an idea of Sambhogakaya, the bliss body, which is the aspect of the Buddha, of the eternal Buddha, in the heavens. People like us cannot perceive him, cannot see him, but we have heard of him, and we may worship him. And this, to the Buddhists, is the Amitabha Buddha. It's the same as in Christianity, God. Why? Because those who want to, who wish to look forward to be close to God, to enjoy being seated with him and so on, they have to qualify and go to heaven. So the Buddhists practice very hard through the, what they call the Pure Land path, to take rebirth into this pure land of Amitabha Buddha. And there he resides with his bodhisattvas, or the enlightened beings, which in Christianity says about God and his angels. So what's the difference? So we take rebirth there. But then still, because we can't really understand this bliss body of the Buddha, so he has, through skillful means, he has to take rebirth into the world as Manusi Buddha, or the Nimanakaya. So Buddha Sakyamuni, 2,500 years ago, came about as a result of this incarnation aspect of the Buddha. So for that, actually, if you talk about blessings from God, if you are a Pure Land Buddhist, there's no problem. So I practice Kuan Yin path. So we also pray to Kuan Yin for what they call this, all these good results from our prayers. But then we have to go back to Buddha's teachings that unless you deserve it, unless you purify yourselves, so if all the bad karmas has risen, so how can the good one take root? So they must still be taken off. And that's why in life we must be prepared to suffer. But suffer with meaning and with intelligence and wisdom, so that we don't just sit down and cry and give up. But then we know that this suffering is a form of practice for me. And the Buddhist way of practicing is, in order not to take suffering as suffering, we can take it as a kind of blessing, not from God or from Buddha, but it can be maturation of our good practice. So that when we are suffering, we can hold a good thought of while I'm suffering, may no other being suffer. May all the sufferings ripen on me, and that is a Kuan Yin mind. And so on. No, when you can do it in this way, you can relate your prayers to God or to Amitabha Buddha. Or finally, all the Buddhas are same in essence, whether Dhammakaya or Sambhogakaya or Nirmanakaya. They share the same characteristics. Only that we are closer to Buddha Shakyamuni because he took birth in India 2,500 years ago. I hope this is a brief answer is quite okay for you.
That is correct. But after having decided to start to make a decision with the mind, then I say that you have to start from the top. Then don't go with the gymnastics of the mind all the time. If you start to repeat a prayer, you can only repeat if your mental capacity is still alive. And if you want to visualize an entity, your mental capacity or your visionary aspect must be alive. So this is all mental and emotional. You've got to go beyond that to get better results. Even this is all right. There's no harm repeating prayers which are God-sent, which are uttered by the mouth of prophets, but actuated by God. They have got power themselves. But that those very scriptures tell us that start a prayer through the inspiration of the soul. Because it says very clearly that the body shouldn't be there, the mind shouldn't be there, the breath of life shouldn't be there. Even it says the soul shouldn't be there, which is impossible. And what is the need for that, for God to emphasize that even the soul shouldn't be there? Because God wants you to efface your personality, want to efface anything that you have completely. You must be a complete sacrifice to God. And then if you are a sacrifice to God, then it must happen automatically. And the automatic way is only through the inspiration of the soul. And if you are doing any other technique, then I would say you are starting from somewhere down below. You may still have benefit, but you are probably going uphill. If you have to go downhill, then follow that. Smoothly you glide down. And this is the technique given by God in all the scriptures. I have checked out all the scriptures, and I sometimes begin to wonder how benevolent, how kind God is. He has given a system, most efficacious, but most simple and most natural of all. It is just like trying to catch the state of slumber before you sleep. That's as simple as that, as natural as that. But still, we go to all sorts of gymnastics. Instead of touching our nose here like this, we go all around and touch it the other way. But God in simplicity, I didn't accept it before. I tried all the yogas, I tried everything that was difficult and different. But then God showed me the simplest way is the highest. And I really find it is so. So I find it so difficult to get across to people, to tell them the simple way is the highest way. You've got to do nothing whatsoever. They said, well, how can you pray if you do nothing? God does it for you. That's why it's high. And if He does it for you, then He accepts your prayer. Usually we pray, but are we sure He accepts our prayer? So if He prays for you, then if He is doing the prayer Himself, He must accept it. It's as high as that. So this is what you have to really analyze and understand. Are you willing to go to that prayer? And that prayer can only come if you have annihilated completely, if you have created a vacuum. So much so that you must learn to jump into the dark. Are you willing to sacrifice? That's why in all the mythology, that they sacrifice their body, they sacrifice the animals. There may be something literal about it. But sacrifice, wherever it meant, was not blood, was not body, but the mind. And everything that you had to come to zero. Then He will rise you up. He will awaken you into prayer as He wants it to happen. It will be different for you at different times. And if another person is sitting next to you, he'll have a different prayer altogether. Because his needs are different. So this is how it is. So sure, you've got to make up your mind to start the process. But once the process is started and you have decided on what it is, then you must leave your mind far back. Is that clear? First of all, it is not a very high level.
This happened to me when I hit upon the right method. I started to go in ecstasy, into all sorts of, situations which I did not like myself. I used to dance, I used to cry, I used to laugh, I used to fall on the ground, and I used to question this, you see. And slowly, after about 8 long years, I received a voice. Now research the scriptures. And lo and behold, when I started to research the scriptures, whatever I wanted to know, if I said I was laughing, where is the evidence in the scriptures? When I opened the scripture, exactly it comes there. It was about crying. Why cry? Is it valid? When I open, the crying comes in. For the first, few weeks, I didn't take down the notes. When it started coming, so I took down notes. I got over 1,000 pages of quotations now from all the scriptures to prove this point. And when, of course, I was getting it, and anybody who sat next to me, he started to get it from the very start. He may not be eligible for it. He may not even have, probably he was not knowing the full mechanics of it. And I'll give up an instant of what happened to me many times, but one in particularly in Amritsar, the holy city of the Sikhs. There was a saint. He was practicing, in the best way possible, 15 over years. When he sat in front of me, straight away he went into an ecstasy. And he was waiting for this for 15 long years. They want reaction. They want proof that there is something that will rise from within and they can feel it. And he straight away found this is what it is. And after thanking me and almost touching my feet, I had to take my feet away from him. He was going to go. He said, I have found him. I have found him. I caught him. I said, sit down here. I said, what have you found? I said, it's the beginning. There's a long road to go. You may have to come back, if I'm still around, to check many nuances of this. It's just the beginning. So just to answer your question, it may surprise you that not always, but quite often, the very first day when people come to a meditation, they start to receive it. But it's a long way further. So this is not the end, it's the beginning. And mind you, people have not even begun worship. I put it very curtly, it may hurt some people, but I know it to be true. I pity those people when they don't feel anything at all. It becomes very boring to them. It should start from the very beginning. He says, Har ki bhakti sada rang rate, home vichunjale. Basically, he says, the prayer of worship should commence with a feeling, with ecstasy. You should commence with it. It has got many ways, many forms. You may even commence with it silently, a very small vibration inside. It may not even be externalized. But there must be something. If not, I read something about commenting on meditation by a Buddhist monk. You know what he wrote there? He says, brothers and sisters, I must tell you that meditation is very boring. But however, it is good. So I had a big laugh inside. I said, well, to him it's boring. So it is very interesting. Because you will start to be led by God from moment to moment. Every moment you will feel the guidance. You're here, you're there, you're this, you're that way. So it is not boring at all, it's very interesting. So this is how it is. So don't take it as a very high state. There are many people who come to my meditation, they still swear at people, they still got temper. It takes a little while, but there is a gift from God. Maybe because of Kali Yoga. Because maybe we are coming to very close to, some people say, the end of the world or something like that. So now it seems to come, faster. It's all in the scriptures. I myself get surprised. Even Guru Nanak and all the big ones, I received this, that they have already recorded. But during that time, it was not prolific. Now it's coming out. But it is there. Recorded is there. So it may be strange, but dig deep, research, and find it for yourself, experience for yourself. Is that clear enough? Thank you very much.
Let me ask you a personal question. Do you still laugh and cry, or do you still feel the need to laugh and cry?
You mean in prayer?
Yes.
Well, I must qualify. And everything that I feel and my brothers and sisters feel in meditation, everything is given in the scriptures. In fact, I'm one of those people, I will never accept if it is not there. I will start to question, and somehow or other I will find it. And I found it to my satisfaction. You see, now it's very common that when you advance, when you advance spiritually, you become more calm, right? And of course, I was laughing, I was crying, I was doing funny things. But later, I became calm. After a certain time, perhaps when most of the karmas had been exhausted or whatever it is. So, Mother Mangalam's question is valid, that indeed, if you are expanding spiritually, then all the violent movements will stop. Then you become really calm. However, if somebody sits in front of you, one or two or three people, and they require some urgent help, then you take on some dross from them, and then you may vibrate unnaturally, but very short time. But it's not yours, it's because of an empathy and a sympathy with the other person. But normally you'll be very calm, or you'll be very nice. It will not, all this crying and laughing are the early stages, you see. But however, I must also qualify, that sometimes when I may feel a little dejected, of course seldom I feel by the grace of God, I want to feel a little exuberant. Then I ask God, I say, God, can you give me laughter? And the type of laughter come, my goodness, I can keep it for the next half an hour. You know? And I'm not joking. You come to my group and we just say, all right, now God, if it be your will, may we be shown what is to really laugh. And they start the laugh at once. And suddenly they can't stop it. It's as effective as that. So it is true that you don't have to go through all the hieroglyphics. You'll become calmer and calmer. It's given in scriptures, And in fact, it's also given you'll be quiet. But there'll be internal quietness, not a self-will quietness. So don't get put off by all these things. But sometimes if you are violent, because some people come in front of me and they spin like a top and they fall down. To me it's ordinary because I've done it before. I'm not surprised. So I tell them, don't worry, it'll go off and all that. And sure enough, after a month or two, now by laughing and crying, I'll give you one instance of a lady. In fact, there were two ladies. I don't know why. Usually ladies are more emotional, I think. And this particular lady used to cry quite a bit when she used to go to a Sikh temple, a Sikh lady. And it was embarrassing to her. Because whenever these people start to sing, a holy song, she used to cry and then she used to hide here and then people look at her, point fingers, crying, Somebody say, go to Kirpal Singh. His meditation is crying, laughing. Because many people are put up by me. So this fellow, he has got somebody says he's got hypnotist, or he's got black art, all sorts of funny things. So she came to me that this is my problem. I said, lady, well, if this system is correct, then it will correct your behavior in a situation where behavior should be the norm and form. That in this Sikh temple, crying and laughing is very odd. So I said, you come to this meditation and perhaps you will cry your heart out. You will laugh your heart out. And that's exactly what happened. When she started with me, she cried so much. Then she came the next, she cried so much. I said, now go to the temple. No more crying after that. It was adjusted. You see? So I put it to you that, now, I'll give another case of a chap. It's very easy to say, this bloody fellow, this bloody thing, this bloody engine. This chap has always had bloody in his mouth. He was a member of the Slam Club. Bloody this, bloody that. I used to do it also a long time ago. And when he joined the group, and all of a sudden, he couldn't say bloody anymore. But before he said that, this is very, very important, listen carefully. But mother, you better listen to all, otherwise you'll be questioning me again. Now, but before this happened, am I too long? Now, before this happened, in the meditation, he was scolding everybody. He was scolding to the extent of using abusive language. But I kept my calm and I told my people, keep your calm. He used abusive, not very abusive, but pretty bad. He caught the whole thing out and all of a sudden, no more Slam swearing at anybody. So people say, hey, what's wrong with you? Hey, why have the bloody finished? So the karma was exhausted. So I put it to you. If your prayer is one of quietness and serenity, you are plugging in all the dross. It's not coming out. It has to come out. And some people ask me, why your prayer is so awkward, is so, not calm and all the rest of it. So I said, do ugly things come out beautifully? They don't. They must show their ugliness. So you must get rid of them. So in the process, you may be doing funny things. But later on, it's all calmness. So thank you very much. I'll use the language of Jokerman. It put me in the tight spot. Well, mother, brothers, sisters, in Hindu parlance, I'll speak in the Hindu parlance, Atma and Param Atma. Param Atma is God and Atma is the soul. Param is supreme. So in fact, we are born with a spark of spirituality inside of us. Spark of spirituality. We are born with a Godhood inside us. That is why in Hindu parlance, Atma and Paramatma are very, very close. So it is God in us, that is the soul. And because it is God, and God is immortal, soul never, never dies. So, what is it? It can't be ordinary, it must be godly. So, that is what it is.
Or do you say that the Buddhists have no spirituality because they don't talk about the soul?
I think Buddhists talk about the soul. They don't talk about God. I
They
think.
don't talk about it. They deny it. They don't talk.
Tony?
There are different schools. Some accept, some don't accept.
They don't accept the soul. For instance, Venerable Dhammananda does not.
In fact, we had requested he speak today, but he has gone away. Otherwise, he would have taken the floor today. I think Tony can answer that.
I think when we talk about the soul, as our mother has said, in Reverend Ramananda said there's no soul. It means that because Buddha said anatta, means non-soul, but he didn't disqualify the existence of that soul aspect, It's just because the difference being that the soul is ever changing in quality. That's why we rather use the word the mind continuum rather than soul, because it could be misinterpreted that the soul just takes a new clothing in its lifetime. And for that is the difference. That's my answer.
I think they...
So are you talking about non-changing soul or changing soul?
Exactly.
If it's non-changing, then is what they understand as soul. If the changing is not a soul anymore.
Actually, soul is eternal, it doesn't change. And the anatta, the word used in the Buddhist also, it is eternal.
I think here we've come to back to the same problem of linguistics of language. That just as the word God is a question of how you define the word. So here the word soul is a question of how you define the word soul. Like when the Buddhists use the term anatta, the doctrine of anatta, that has been translated to mean doctrine of non-soul. I don't know whether that's a correct translation. I think really what they mean is non-self, the doctrine of not self and non-self, that the self is not an eternal, there's no permanent individual entity. That's what they're saying, that you as an individual does not have a permanent existence. That is what they're saying, but that's a different thing from the connotations given to the word soul. So I think we've got to be very careful when we discuss these things. What exactly does that word mean? It's a question of definition of terms.
I understand.
Would anyone else like to contribute? Anything?
I could get Mr. Nataraja to say a few words from the Hindu aspect of it. That is, we are now discussing about the soul concept. But in Hinduism, they have monism, qualified monism, and dualism. And I think the soul concept here does play important. I wonder whether Mr. Nataraja.
Hello. The question I also Mr. Nataraja, asked Mr. Nataraja, the self asking the self. Now, as far as the embodied soul is concerned, it is one and the same. The embodied soul and the our soul is eternal. It is one. This embodied soul is a spark of the oversoul. The Atma and the Paramatma are interrelated, they are one and the eternal one. Now, his question was about the final stage of the emancipation, salvation, liberation. There, how this soul merges with the cosmic power. This soul power, subconscious or conscious soul, how it merges with the cosmic consciousness. Or this Atma, how it merges with the Paramatma. that three different kinds of schools. One images like this Atma, also spark of God, merges with the Paramatma, just like a spark of fire entering into the universe of fire. Another one is this Atma merging with the other one, just like light and heat, light and the fire and the light, fire and the heat. In that condition, they merges. Another one, I think is also among Christianity, they say God is sitting at the right hand of God. In Hinduism, Shaivism, teaches they go at the feet, sit at the feet of the Lord. These are many differences of the emancipation, liberation. But as far as everybody's souls are concerned, all everybody's souls, it is for the soul to find ways and means to liberate itself. And when I was talking about God, the power, and so on, according to Hinduism, God is nameless and formless. Now it is you who give name and form to that power, so that in order to work out your own salvation. And of course, that power materializes, manifests itself according to the want of the devotee.
Well, of course, nihilism is not accepted in Buddhism, and the teaching on the permanent soul is also eternal soul. Depends on what you mean. Again, it's a language problem, What do you mean by eternal soul? If it's a non-changing soul, does it mean a permanent? Because they say in Buddhism, to my limited knowledge, is the soul begins with the qualities of the Buddha nature, and throughout lifetimes, evolution takes place of the mind, and we acquire more and more merits and become progressively more highly attained. Until a lifetime when we become so perfected, then it does not mean that this soul ends, and we enter into this nirvana. It is still in existence. So it is always called as the mind continuum, which is always interchanging. The mind is never the same at any moment. So for that, if you say permanent soul, it is permanent. But then the qualities is not permanent. The characteristics of the mind and so on. So it's quite difficult to really give a definite answer on that. Because this is the coinage of words which we can get caught,
I think basically all these are basic concepts.
Well, consciousness to a Buddhist is only a part of the aggregates that makes us. There's a fifth aggregate. So consciousness is just an aspect of the I, that's all. So, but all this make up human being is mind and body. Body is a form. Inside mind, there are four qualities, of which consciousness is one of them. So is how we develop. Also, some people use mind consciousness, but that's why I prefer to use mind continuum, because it is a continuity of the mind, which is not the same and yet the same. There's a flame which is burned 5 minutes ago, and now is it the same flame? It is not, you see. And now I'm the same person when I was 12 years old. So it is just like that the Buddha tried to explain to us.
I'd like to present, shall I say, the layman's I'm more than pleased to take the guts to share the view of a commoner. You see, I'm more than proud to hear the, shall I say, the theological aspect, words like physiology, terminologies. You see, all these are, shall I say, a form of words to communicate our mind, right? So basically, I feel that, please correct me, should I be led astray, in the sense that because deep down we have come to compromise that there is a certain seed in us. The seed is the essence of, shall I say, the vibration of God. I think this is a common a stand that we take, right? So that's why religion is born. It's born as a signal that you must stay within in order to be good. So we have accepted that in different ways and in different, dimensions and whatever visionary power that we have. So let me put it in my layman's view, because we are very common. We enjoy all the divinations that we try to aspire. But in short, we are very common. I will try to reflect like the ocean. You see, we are all like drops of the ocean. So, given time, the little drop will also evaporate for various reasons, just like the surge. To put the thing in plain, for example, we take the soul and spirit. Because our mind is always in conflict, in the search of intelligence, in the search of aspirations, in the search of success. Whatever way we see it, the search is endless. The journey shall march on. So therefore, let's qualify what is soul and spirit. You see, we are engaging something very aesthetic. It's beyond our mind. But yet we feel that we can reach it. So we must use the words, or perhaps a form, or perhaps a denomination. Then our mind can communicate, can copulate. So that's why we are brought to this earthly heaven to celebrate. Perhaps we use words karma to burn out what we feel that we have committed in our lives. Say, all this is in our mind. But who tells us this is here? Or perhaps some say it's here. Here will lead you to see. Here shall guide here. And finally, that's what we are all gathered here today, for a common journey. So therefore, let's come back a bit deeper. You see, a bit downstream, we call it the emotions, right? And then we have the physical form. So physical form is a form of identity. Downstream. Without a physical form, then we cannot see. Then we are supreme already. So that's why we all cannot be supreme. We must come back to the ocean again. The ocean is a source, just like God. So therefore, in the layman's view, I must suggest that we have to exercise our wisdom, our visionary power, and our supernatural cosmic that is bestowed upon us. So each person has certain values, is latent and is in earth. So it is up to us to vibrate. So no man can guide you. You must, under all situations, exercise the scripture and also acquire wisdom along the way through visualization, to immediate interaction, to positive forces, and so forth and so on. You see, all these are brought to us by our seniors, our predecessors in different forms. So we must vibrate and explode the inner latent in us. So therefore, like a layman, every day we are battling the five devils, always challenging us, the taste, the touch, the sight, the sound, and smell. Today, must I go for my status? Today, must I run the other gown? For the word of glory, for the word of status, for the word of charity, whatever it can be. So therefore, the answer is endless. So therefore, I suggest that, my good friends, the answer is within. The God is within. So therefore, it is us, with the guidance of the, shall I say, the virtues or scriptures, and to top it all, it is in us. Everything is in you. You must find it. And given time, it will unflow. So in short, your path shall be cleansed in different ways. So you must search it and you must find it. But coming together is good, because these forces that we have, sometimes they call it electromagnetic power, we will try to radiate, just like Mr. Kripal has. So he has endowed in certain values, so he searched further. But some may accept him, some may not accept him. So given a time, should you be able to neutralize or accept the forces that, shall I say, neutralize you or harmonize, you must cleanse yourself first. And should you be able to accept that denominator in you that means God is already in you. In short, you must diffuse all ego under all avenues, and you must destroy what is black in you. In short, everything is beautiful. Be still and let beauty surround you. Thank you.
I wish to make an observation, I would say. In the Tao Te Ching, in the beginning, in the first chapter, it was said that the Tao that can be Tao is not the eternal Tao. So all our talking, attractive language, and eloquence amounts to nothing when it comes to this search for God. The very fact that anyone tries to define it fails right from the very start. So it brings to me one story about a Japanese professor noted for his depth of learning and acknowledge in the scholar's world. He went to a monastery where a chant master was sitting down there having tea. So this learned professor, having heard that this is one man whom he could turn to or put up a challenge to see how well he would measure up to his acknowledged intellectual depth, and he himself also thought that he himself is already a wise person. So when this professor was approached this chant master, the chant master didn't even raise his eyes to take a look of him, despite having granted audience to that learned professor. So that learned professor, with his ego, was boiling inside in a way, but he couldn't speak. So he kept it down well and good, and appeared as though he was not perturbed in the least. So with great humility, and showing that he himself must measure up to be a man who is modest, So he walked up to the monk and gave him 3 good bows. That the professor felt that this man doesn't seem to have manners. That Buddhist monk just uttered this and kept on having his tea. And this professor had to speak in very politely and said, "Can you, Reverend Master, teach me something? I come here to search knowledge." That's what the attitude should be. That you go and ask in a tone that is shown in your exterior as well as in your tone of voice. So the monk said, "Yes, now I can give you tea." And that professor took the cup and just said, "Yes, I can have your tea now." The monk poured the tea, and he poured it very slowly, and that man kept on saying, thank you, enough already." So the monk didn't stop at that. He kept on pouring until the whole tea overflowed and splashed it onto his clothes. And he didn't even apologize for that, That monk didn't even care to apologize. So the Japanese professor, they are very well acknowledged in Japan, because in England you acknowledge the company directors, but in Japan you acknowledge the university professor more. So he asked that monk, "Don't you see, sir, Reverend, that you have poured tea onto my shirt and all that?" So the monk said, "Have you spoken enough? Have you spoken enough? Have you, is it my time to talk now?" So that monk told him, "You came here with all sorts of knowledge. But first of all, please empty your mind of all your learning first. That is worldly learning. Those things which you know about physics, chemistry, and whatnot. Those knowledge which you have got after 20 years of studying and got your PhD and whatnot. So until and unless you emptied your mind of all those rubbish, I would not be pouring my kind of tea for you. So this is the same when it comes to spiritual matters. There is something totally different from your mundane, materialistic world. Thank you.
I want to answer this question. My answer is a clear no. Does spirituality ensure good fortune, good health, good morals? My own answer is absolutely no. I say this because spirituality, the spirit doesn't need good fortune, doesn't need good health or good morals. Matters. We are concerned in this diagram. We are concerned, with spirit, the soul here, in this exercise. You see, in this exercise we are concerned with the soul or the spirit. Is it dusty? I think we'll just say spirit rather than spiritual. You don't mind, do you? No. Soul or the spirit. And the most important aspect of this system, I'm a systems engineer like Brother Kapal. So this now becomes a system, the body, mind, soul system. You no longer, at least as we no longer can differentiate the soul from the body. And if you are looking for the seat of the soul, I'll be quite frank, you will not find it. Although the scriptures tell you it is, in the middle of your forehead, above the eyebrows. It is not there. When someone told me that for the first time, I told him, look, my soul is not here. It is at the tip of my nose. And if you examine my nose carefully, you'll find it's quite shiny at the tip, That's because the soul resides there. Now, as I say, this exercise is one of intuiting the soul or having your connections with the soul or the spirit or whatever it is that we cannot explain.
Thank you very much. I think we should end now.
So now I should ask for some wind-up comments from the other two speakers, if there are any. Mr. Nadaraja or Brother Tony Wong? No? So now the chairman will have some announcements to give.
Now is the time for me to make an announcement regarding the Dalai Lama's visit, which would probably be in November. And then please watch out for the next forum, which is on alternative medicine. And now I would like to call on the chairperson to conduct a universal prayer, which is feature in Insaf. May all the merits of today's gathering, of this Dharma talk and prayers be dedicated for the welfare of all sentient beings and for world peace.
Let us pray. Most beloved Heavenly Father, Father, your brothers and sisters are gathered here this afternoon from all different paths and walks of life. Truly, you had a plan in your mind when you brought so many diverse religions to this earth, to reach out to every different kind of person in different environment with a different viewpoint. But now our world is growing more to a universal globe, and you are melting all these people together into oneness, and more our family will become one world family with no barriers and boundaries, in which we can grow to understand each other through this kind of dialogue and different viewpoints, and grow closer to your absolute oneness. Oh, Father, we know that you are guiding each session and bringing us closer